Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Soul Forum, the Soul Foundation's monthly virtual meeting where we discuss the science, culture, and politics of unidentified anomalous phenomena, or UAP, in a serious and credible way. We have two very special guests that we're honored to have here today. One who will be appearing in a later segment in the show is former Intelligence Community Inspector General Chuck McCullough, who served in that position for nearly the entirety of the Obama administration and currently practices intelligence and clearance law in Washington, D.C. And right now, because we have limited time, I'm going to jump into our first guest, who we're especially honored to have because of his contribution to UAP disclosure and UAP government secrecy reform in Congress. That's Congressman Eric Burlison. The congressman is a sixth-generation Missourian with 20 years of private sector experience as an investment advisor and software consultant. He was elected to the House of Representatives to represent Missouri's 7th Congressional District in 2022. He serves on the House Oversight and Reform Committee, as well as the Transportation and Infrastructure Committee. Most importantly, for our purposes, he's a member of and driving force of the House of Representatives UAP caucus, and he's played an instrumental role in the House Oversight and Reform Committee's 2023 and 2024 hearings. And Congressman, we are very honored and very grateful to have you here. Even in this day and age where UAP have become a serious topic, you are regularly now engaging the public, acting in Congress on the issue. And I think with Anna Paulina Luna, the two of you are really the driving force right now on the House Oversight Committee of the efforts there. And, so both on behalf of the Soul Foundation and our audience, but especially people engaging this, who are very invested in UAP secrecy reform and disclosure, really want to thank you for your work. We know it's not easy to do. It's not an easy thing to expend political capital on, but you're out there doing it and out there doing it forcefully. So thank you and really welcome to our show.
Good to be on. Appreciate it.
So, I want to kind of leap into the occasion for the interview and ask you just a fairly direct question about what's going on right now in the committee. You recently announced that there is an intention to hold another hearing in early September. And, we want to know what the planned agenda is and really what the intention is behind that hearing.
Yeah, thank you for the question. As we've been studying this issue and working, towards a level of disclosure, we have a number of goals when it comes to the UAP topic, and one of them is a hearing. I want to touch on some of the other things that we're working on as well, because we fully believe that we're probably not going to be able to reveal a smoking gun at a hearing, but we need to get to the point where that information is released, which is why we are sponsoring. I'm going to be sponsoring language that Senator Rounds is also sponsoring in the Senate that requires disclosure. We're working with David Grush on that language, and so it will basically require the agencies, especially the White House, to have to release any and all information that after a certain period of time. That's probably the number one goal. Outside of that, we want to protect whistleblowers. And so there's language that I think that we all support. Tim Burchett has got some language that provides protection for whistleblowers, because a lot of these individuals, their life is completely upset. They lose their benefits, they lose their pension, their health care benefits, and they lose their job. And we don't want to make patriots who take the bold step to have to sound the truth to the American people to have to suffer like that. And then in addition, we have the hearing. And so I think at the end of the day, a lot of the goal on disclosure is not to do these things behind closed doors, not to be, get in a skiff. That's really not our goal. Our goal is to get as much information out to the American people as possible. We've had some good hearings so far. The first hearing that I was able to be a part of was the one with David Grush. which was I think a historic moment and an amazing hearing. We also heard, we had a second hearing with Lou Elizondo and others. But both those hearings were fantastic. But, a guy like me from the Show Me State, I'm still at a place where the testimony that I've heard is interesting and I'm willing to listen, but I'm doing so with a very skeptical and jaundiced view because I don't trust people. I don't trust this government. And until I see it, I'm from Missouri, you're going to have to show me. And so that for me, that's why I'm on this track. I feel compelled to try to get to that point where I finally get an answer. Which is why our second hearing, or this hearing that we're going to do, is going to get us a little bit closer because we're seeking and trying to get people in that hearing that are firsthand witnesses, people that have had encounters, that have had their hands on material, that in their official capacity working for the federal government.
Okay, that would again be historic, like you said about Dave Grush's testimony in the 2023 hearing. How confident are you that those kind of witnesses will be able to come forward for this hearing?
It's not easy. It's really not. Some of them that we've reached out to have refused to come in. They don't find the value. They have come forward before, and or in private or in skiffs, and they're not seeing action. I'm trying to change that. I'm trying to take this topic seriously and trying to treat it like I did in the private sector, where you have milestones, you have goals, you have things that you actually can achieve. And so that hopefully will give more people the confidence to come forward and be willing to come to a public hearing. We're not being totally shut out. We will have some people that are witnesses, but it is not easy to convince somebody to come forward.
Yeah, we're familiar with that process with whistleblowers, and it's very, very difficult for people from the intelligence community to even talk to Congress, let alone speak in open hearings under oath. So a moment ago, you said what you did in the 2023 hearing, that you want to see it. You're from the Show Me State. You're exercising very responsible skepticism, which we believe should be done with this subject, even if we're high confidence about it, because it's owed to anyone we're trying to persuade of it. So let me ask you, how confident are you at this point with the claims that you've received in the House under testimony that a component of the U.S. government is in possession of retrieved UAP vehicles, and also that there's a reverse engineering program?
Yeah, I fully believe that. I fully believe that there is a crash retrieval program. I'm confident that exists. The question is, what are they retrieving, and are the stories of Jacob Barber and others true? That occasionally they will retrieve something that's non-human intelligence, or that's created by someone outside of Earth. So that's yet to be proven to me. And so, but I fully believe and know that there is a crash retrieval program. Often retrieving our own materials, our test materials, or our adversaries' materials.
And what would you say to witnesses who are considering talking to your committee, talking to you as an individual person in Congress, and also doing public testimony in hearings? What kind of assurances is the committee able to offer them in terms of protecting their livelihood, their careers, ensuring that retaliation doesn't happen?
Sadly, there's not much that we can do, and that's why we need to pass Tim Burchett's bill, or maybe other more language to put in the law that gives us the ability to protect people that do come forward. I think that's a lacking. It's clearly, an issue that we need to address.
Right. That makes a great deal of sense. And so it sounds like the legislative agenda that you see as ideal is increased whistleblower protections or whistleblower protections on this subject at all. But you also mentioned the UAP Disclosure Act. It sounds like you're sponsoring that based on what you just said, or sponsoring from the House in conjunction with Mike Rounds and Chuck Schumer. Can you say a little more about that bill and why you think it's important?
Yeah, I mean, the framework of the bill is similar to the JFK release language, and which originally, when I was talking last year about that language, I thought that it probably wasn't going to be good enough. But look where we are with the JFK files. We have documents now being released that the CIA did not want to be released. We're learning more and more about this topic. And look, I'm not conspiratorial, but I have been moved on this topic. I went from believing that the most likely scenario was that Oswald acted alone to now it's definitive that the CIA at least lied multiple times to Congress and covered up their connections to Lee Harvey Oswald. That is definitive, and there's a reason for that. And so that would not have happened. We would not have this narrative had the JFK disclosure bill not passed, and the archives and the CIA had to release these documents. And so I think that it's a good example of if it worked with JFK, knowing that the CIA would do everything they can to not release, but they still had to. I think if it worked for that, it'll work for UAP.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that answer. I want to ask you along those lines. I believe that you've mentioned publicly that our now Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, is either in communication with your committee or at least interested in also looking into this subject. Can you give us a sense of whether there's an interaction taking place and what the intention is there?
I know that Anna is in communications with Tulsi Gabbard. I know that, and that's what I'm being told. I don't have a direct connection to Tulsi. I would love to, but not at this time.
Okay, got you. Thank you for your candor about that. I mean, are you confident that the administration, at the cabinet level, might become interested in or start to back the measures in the UAP Disclosure Act, which, as you know, are a review board that would be responsible for reviewing all federal government records on UAP and with the intent of declassification. It would take a president or cabinet officials to really make sure the agencies comply. Do you guys think you can secure some agreement there?
Yeah, I think we can. We were blocked in last year from doing this because of some individuals that were in the position to block us. Those individuals are not in that position anymore, and so I think that we have a chance to get this done. The Senate, the Senate clearly wants to do it. I mean, it passed out of the Senate; it just was stripped out of the House bill.
Right, right. Okay, so shifting gears a little bit, among people who are concerned with UAP and UAP secrecy, the fact that you brought former National Reconnaissance Office Officer David Grush onto your staff to work with the House Oversight Committee, I mean, that's considered extremely significant, and it may be the first time a whistleblower has actually been employed after doing formal whistleblowing in Congress.
Mm-hmm.
So that by itself is a lot. But you took Grush on as a staff member. What kind of impact has he had on committee members and committee staff?
Really, I mean, an amazing impact, right? Because, and the reason why I brought him on is because just from my experience working with the with the staff of the Oversight Committee, who are I think the Oversight Committee staff are the best, some of the best staffers on Capitol Hill. But they are not intelligence community people. Many of them are attorneys. They know how to investigate, fraud, but this is a totally different topic. And so it became abundantly clear that I don't know where to even go look. They don't know where to go look, or who to ask, or who to talk to, or what to do, how to navigate this web of bureaucracy that is the intelligence community. Look, I need almost a decoder to understand all the acronyms that David Grush knows so well. In fact, whenever he and I are talking, I often have to say, I need a translation. I need a translation for what you just said. Can you please stop using acronyms here? But yeah, that he has been an absolute asset, and it is very unconventional. I took a big risk, and a lot of people told me that this was not to do this. But look, I mean, if we're going to get somewhere, I just knew that if we didn't do this, or hire someone like Dave, get somebody like him on board, we were just going to keep spinning our wheels.
Yeah, and it seems like you made progress in the last hearing as a result, and you're about to make progress with another hearing. No matter if it goes as far as you want it to go this time, which is working on this professionally. I know how difficult that is. So it's again, Congressman, very, very appreciated. Let me ask you a question related to all this. There is a tension, I think, with disclosure efforts and also just congressional inquiries into UAP secrecy, between the right to know, you might put it that way, of the public on the one hand, and then the equities the federal government has in the subject or related classified subjects. What do you think about navigating?
Yeah, my view is very philosophical. I believe that this topic, that no government has the right to protect or to hide something of this nature from the American people. And I fundamentally believe that the government works for the people, not the other way around. And so the people own this government. I think it's time that this government stop holding on to secrets that the American people need to know. And so that's fundamentally how I view this topic. And there is a tension, just to elaborate, there is a tension. There's concerns often that are brought up that we might be exposing programs that are truly intelligence, things that are national security issues. But at the end of the day, these technological advances belong to everyone. And the topic, of the fact that we may or may not have contacted an alien or non-human intelligence, that is not for this government or any government to hold onto those rights. And so that's why I think that what we're trying to do is, with the disclosure, with the Disclosure Act that we're working on, I think it does it through a thoughtful process that we're protecting our technology, but we're also getting the information out to the American people and being transparent. And look, I also, for example, I fly a lot. And I fly commercial. And as I was sitting at Reagan 2 weeks ago, for 3 hours on the tarmac, not moving, waiting for weather to change, and getting angry as I'm sweating in this, hot airplane. I'm thinking to myself, wouldn't it, if this is true, that the United States and our contractors have got technology that would absolutely change the way we travel, then I think that's going to make me very angry if that's true and they've been holding on to that. I think that the world deserves to be able to share in the knowledge and science that's been developed or reverse engineered if it exists. And so that's my view.
Okay, that's a remarkable statement. So I want to follow up on that a little. It sounds like you have a certain level of confidence that there has been some successful reverse engineering then.
I can't say. I repeatedly told that, like, but I've not seen it firsthand. We're requesting to see that firsthand, but until I do, I can't definitively say that there is reverse engineering of NHI.
Understood. Now, when you were speaking a moment ago, pretty forcefully about the U.S. government really not having the right to suppress fundamental facts about this and possibly even technologies. I thought, this is sounding like the 1970s again, when Congress really pushed back against the intelligence community and including the DoD part, and really demanded accountability, did hearings, established intelligence community oversight. So I'm wondering, what kind of pushback are you and your colleagues getting?
Um, if anything, it's usually the pushback is a paperwork process. So, we just got denied a request today, and we're going to have to look at how do we address it? Do we issue a subpoena? So it's I'm not getting direct pushback from leadership. We did at one point with a committee chairman, but the speaker seems to be agnostic, or really he's not trying to stop us from getting access to this information. And the White House has been the limited conversations I've had with the White House have been at least somewhat have been successful and somewhat supportive of the topic.
Okay, that's amazing, and that I think will give people optimism. Here's a question. It's a bit of a slightly technical one about government. I've often been told by retired government officials that it's the intelligence committees that really would have jurisdiction over the UAP issue. And I know that some of the people that you and I both know really targeted the oversight committee because it was the out-of-box committee that wasn't going to worry about that. What are you guys having to do to get access to or cooperation from intelligence agencies on this?
Yeah, when we're requesting a briefing, we submit. There's a process that the staff follow, and part of that process is that a letter is sent. Well, first and foremost, the intelligence community determines what is going to be in the briefing, and then they submit a letter to the chairman of Intel, the ranking member of Intel, the chairman of House Armed Services Committee, and the ranking member as well. So they send a letter to those four individuals, and if any one of those individuals decides to block it, then it's blocked for us being able to have access to that briefing.
So here's, I think, maybe one of the most important questions I could ask you. You've gotten yourself pretty involved in this over a 2-year period. That first hearing was almost exactly 2 years ago. You've probably come a long way, and you're thinking about the subject. Why are you involved in this at all? And what would you want Americans to know about it and its importance?
Yeah, I mean, I'm passionate about this. I'm passionate about releasing the Epstein files, releasing the information on JFK. I think that to the point of what I said earlier is that when you have a federal government that holds information, keeps secrets from the people that it's supposed to be accountable to, you have a broken system. This government I strongly believe this government belongs to the people, and that's why I'm pursuing as much transparency as possible, because I think that it is a fundamental part of having a good government.
Okay, got you. And so here's a final question, and I think this is a big one, but I'm sure you have some developed thoughts about it. Do you think Americans and the rest of the world would be ready to learn that it's true that there is a presence of non-human, possibly extraterrestrial intelligence, and that's what a lot of UAP are? Um,
Yeah, I mean, in the course of the conversations that I've had with people, I do think that the American people are ready for that. I think that they are mature enough to be able to handle it. I don't think it's going to crash the world economy. I think that, and you know what's remarkable is many we may be able to roll out an actual vehicle, put it on display, have the press report it, and a vast majority of the American people will probably just move on to something else the next day. I really think that it's at that point where it's not going to change. It's not going to radically change our society. Um, but I do think that at the end of the day, um, I think we ought to trust the American people, and trust them to govern their lives, and trust them with the information.
Congressman, really want to thank you for this interview. And I want to express before we go that I think a lot of people have a great deal of admiration for the positions you've taken and the work you're doing. And as you said, they could be very historic. So thank you again.
Appreciate it. Appreciate the work you do too.
Okay, thank you. It was great having you with us.
Anytime.